had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back, yes. Episode 185, 185 episodes. Hard to believe. But without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callie, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And all the way from Granite City Studios in St. Cloud, Minnesota. But Shield, what is going on there, Shield?
I mean, I don't know if you have the same feelings as I do. This week needs to be over about 2 weeks ago because this just cannot get any better at this point. And to add more insult to injury, 6:45 this morning, I go to work. I put in the second cooler, left side, third shelf in the open air Pepsi cooler, a Mountain Dew Baja Blast, my guilty pleasure this time of year, all year actually as well, in celebrating the 20th anniversary. Don't feel free to sponsor us, Mountain Dew, or not. I put it there. In anticipation of lunch. I had a working lunch today, so I didn't really get to eat. Come back from my working lunch, about to go back out on the work floor, go to the second cooler, left side, third shelf. No Baja Blast. Somebody took my Baja Blast.
No.
And you do not be doing a man in his Baja Blast. I am irate at this point.
Yes.
And you can't even fathom everything that's led up to the last 48 hours, now going on to 72 hours with NFL free agency. So I'm in a bit of a mood. I made my cocktail just a tinge stronger here tonight to at least take off the edge as well, hoping for a much better result here with the program here tonight.
Well, Voldy, unfortunately, we got to go on more grimmer terms to start off Tater Tot Hot Take. I'm sorry about your Baja Blast, and obviously there's news that, just recently happened and whatnot, and people know Mr. Hanley, a.k.a. Most Absurd Statement winner. Go Sam. I think you're referencing Sam Darnold. Yes, we will get to that in a second. Because
I asked you, Hanley.
Yeah, we didn't even ask you. You would just be happy that you have a team that you don't have to worry about, not getting guys and things like. You don't have to make any big splashes or anything. So you just enjoy it. All right, we're about to get into it. So. This is going to be fun. Mm-hmm. You should go get busted. No, not at all. Nope, not going to happen. So, without further ado, Voldy, we got to get right into it. Tater Tot Hot Take, obviously. Oh, breaking news. We have a breaking news. Former Minnesota Viking linebacker and former LA Chargers linebacker Eric Kendricks expected to sign with the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys. Woo! Wow. Interesting.
I don't care. I literally don't care.
I figured you wouldn't. So
I don't care.
You guys know the deal. What's coming up with Hot Take? Our dear friend of the show, Kirko Chainz, is an Atlanta Falcon, and it is official. We'll talk about that, obviously, with the booze. People, all the Kirk haters are still having their parade, all that stuff. We'll talk about that. And then we're going to get to karlanthonytowns, his injury that happened, torn meniscus, and the Wolves have been faring okay so far. So we'll talk about that. Infinity rankings, Vikings free agency edition. I'm giving my top six, count them, top six signings / even re-signings. And I ranked them, so there's a lot to be said with that. And then ARA, we got a lot to talk about. College football, NFL, Aaron Rodgers running for VP. What craziness, just craziness. And then we got shield shoutouts. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. It's time for some Tater Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, it is time for Tater Tot Hot Take, and Voldy, it's time. It's time. If you haven't heard the news, or if you've been living under a rock these past few days,
Consider yourself lucky.
consider yourself lucky.
Yes, praise yourself.
Our good friend, and I said this too, friend of the show, when you meet
Friend of the program.
one DJ Matty C and everything, like, you are a friend for life. Hashtag Kirko Chainz, hashtag kirkcousins, hashtag
You like that? You like that?
you like that. I don't like it, but we bid farewell to Kirko Chainz. Kirk Cousins signed a 4-year deal with the Atlanta Falcons, $100 million guaranteed, and $180 million total. 4 years. Unfreaking believable. Voldy, and I asked this of the zoners, and you take it as you will. Your thoughts on Kirko leaving the Minnesota Vikings for the Atlanta Falcons? Voldy, zoners, your thoughts?
I mean, I'm not immediately happy about it. Obviously, Kirk got the money that he wanted. He got to a team that is looking for some veteran leadership, and that's what they need in Atlanta right now. They've got a young offensive core, offensive nucleus that they do have. They just need somebody to push it in the right direction. They tried with Taylor Heineke, kind of sputtered a little bit early on, and obviously they have Desmond Ridder in the quarterback room as well. So getting a veteran leader like Kirk Cousins in the fold as well, that at least show him how to play quarterback too. For the Vikings side of things, this sucks. Obviously, they weren't going to pay him $180 million over 4 years, 100 of it guaranteed. There's just no way that the Vikings were going to come even close to that number. And it shows. Obviously being back on the East Coast is kind of a nice thing for the Cousins family as well, even though Kirk's Midwestern guy, Michigan, Illinois kind of guy as well. But spent a majority of his early career in Washington with the then called quote-unquote Redskins as well. Now he's back out on familiar territory too. It sucks. It does suck because now the Vikings are back at square one, if not square -3 at this point. They might have a franchise, a top-tier wide receiver. Now you just don't know who the heck's going to be throwing him the ball if he does end up staying with the Vikings. More on that to be coming up here later. The initial reaction, it sucks immediately, but let's hope this will be a good thing for the future. Right now, it doesn't look good based off of what we have and what we've got in the last 48 hours.
Well said, Voldy. I don't like it either. But you know what? I understand what the Vikings had to do. And what they had to do was look for the future. And unfortunately, it wasn't with our guy, Kirko Chainz. Yep. But I won't necessarily say that they just couldn't match what Atlanta was going to, put out there. The fact that they put out 4 years, $180 million for Kirk just says how desperate they are for a competent, really good quarterback, and that is Kirko Chainz. For the Vikings' sake, I mean, you're at a crossroads of, okay, like, you're coming off an Achilles, we like what you've done and everything like that, but we can't keep you at that price of what the Falcons gave them. I don't necessarily blame Kirk for taking the deal. because his people are like, oh, it's because of the money. It's all about the money. Like, you know, he went for the money and everything like that. Well, let's be honest. If you had $180 million staring you in the face 4 years and, you know, you believe that you can play for that long, that's hard to pass up. And I don't necessarily blame Kirk for that. But I think a lot of influence, I think, is with family. You have family down there with his wife, Julie Cousins. You know, shout out to Julie. And, you know, the kids will love Atlanta, too. I mean, they're already down there. Kirk is doing his press conference. He's already signed. He's ready to roll for Atlanta, which is tough for me to accept. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not that broken up about it. But it is sad because Kirk, the 6 years Kirk was with our Minnesota Vikings.
Yep.
He did everything in his power, and I put this on the social medias. He did everything in his power to try and bring the Vikings where they wanted to go. Now, you could say, well, he's only got one playoff win, X, Y, and Z, things like that. The issue is the regime that got him in the first place. There were a lot of non-believers within that in our organization. That was, I mean, with Zimmer, with some of the other coaches, things like that. Kirk went through offensive coordinator after offensive coordinator for like 6 years until this very season where finally O'Connell, the first year 13 and 4, and then obviously this year where he had him as, had O'Connell as the OC and Wes Phillips, but I guess it's mainly O'Connell. But we can't just sit back and think, if Kirk didn't tear his Achilles, would this be different? I don't know. That's tough. That's a tough thing to, predict. But I give credit to the Minnesota Vikings for saying, here's what we have. Here's our deal. This is what we'll go with. And they stood by it. They said, we're not going to go up to that number. And hence why Kirk took the deal. And that's where we're at right now. And I'm not the type, and Voldy, you and I are not the type to sit back and be like, well, this is all Kirk's fault, and he's just not he's not the type of guy that's gonna go out there and get it done when he's needed to most.
Right.
The Minnesota Vikings the Minnesota Vikings failed with how they assembled the teams. And it's not I don't want to say it's KOC's fault or Kwesi's fault, but it's Zimmer. I have to say it. Like I'm not I like Zim. Don't get me wrong. I like Zim.
I do too. But
the lack of faith that Zim had in Cousins, and they didn't watch tape together until his last season or something with the team. Last season, so there were a lot of people that didn't think he could get it done. And, that's the issue that everybody has. And it's like, well, Kirk didn't. Football's a team game. People seem to forget that, It's like, well, Tom Brady had this and Mahomes and this and that. Listen. They did it the right way. They paid Brady, and Brady, he took pay cuts and things like that, and whatever. But Mahomes is getting paid all this money. There's a big cap hit there. They found ways to win. So with Kirk Cousins, our defense got worse every single season that we were in the Zimmer era, and it was even worse when we had Donatel, right? And we never improved on that side of the ball. Our offensive line was not great either. That's another thing to factor in too.
How about all the offensive coordinators we went through as well?
Right, and
D.
then the
Filippo,
offensive
Stefanski, Turner, Pat Shermer as well. That's just four.
Clint
I think
Kubiak,
that's what.
Gary
Kubiak, Gary Kubiak, Jamal Kubiak, all the Kubiaks as well. I don't know how many there are. Way too many offensive coordinators in the time of Kirk Cousins.
So the thing is the organization failed to help that side of the ball. It's like, well, they didn't have enough money to get those guys and, you know, things like that. Well, when you have a defensive coach, he's supposed to make this defense tough. He's supposed to do that. I mean, you needed Kirk to be that guy, and he tried to, but we, after each season, got progressively worse on defense. So, with the playoff game that we had, you know, that was awesome. Rudy, touchdown in the corner of the end zone, beating those stupid Aints. Kirk was the one that orchestrated that drive, and he was fantastic. The issue that year, offensive line. And guess what? We did not address it as much as we should have. That didn't go well. Then our defense sucked even more, and then COVID, and then so no matter how you feel about Kirk, the guy works his ass off. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Kirk worked his ass off, and he tried everything in his power to try and bring this team to where we wanted him to bring us. And unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. So before you sit here and say, well, it's Kirk's, you know, they paid him all this money to be that guy. Yeah, they did. But guess what? He was holding up his end of the bargain. Mm-hmm. But the coach that was here didn't. So that's kind of how that's how I look at it. And if you disagree with me, let me know. But I'm sick and tired of looking at people say, oh, he's only got one playoff win, and then they don't realize, is football a team sport? I mean, would Patrick Mahomes have that much success? I mean, don't get me wrong, Patrick Mahomes, one of the best right now to ever do it.
Right.
If he didn't have Travis Kelce, I don't know. I mean, where would they be? I mean, that's a good question. So
very true.
You have to think, of things like that. It sucks that Kirk didn't take that deal, but you know what? Take our deal to stay with us. And, because our thoughts were, Voldy, you and I, and some of the zoners, re-sign Kirk 2 years. When you re-sign him for 2 years, then you draft the guy and develop and things like that. But granted, I don't think Kirk wanted to do that, which, okay, respect there. But we're in this situation now where the Vikings will have to draft somebody. They will probably have to trade up. Now, there's a lot of other needs, and the Vikings address those, and we're going to talk about that in Infinity Rankings later on. But, Voldy, to kind of wrap this up a little bit, because, a lot of people have thoughts, and we could go on and on about, how, the Vikings failed Kirk, and Kirk did, and people like, well, Kirk couldn't do X, Y, Kirk threw a 4-yard pass on 4th and 8 and whatever. The thing is that he took the deal. He's in Atlanta now. Where do you think the Atlanta what are your thoughts on the Atlanta Falcons now? Let's go over to the Atlanta here for a second.
Yeah.
You have Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. You have Tyler Algier, he's a very good running back too. A nice little 1-2 punch. What are your thoughts on the Atlanta Falcons now that they've added Kirko Chainz? Are they the favorite in the NFC South, Voldy?
I mean, the NFC South is, again, much wide open as well. You look at how it all really shaped up. New Orleans is still a team. What do they have offensively? Yes, they have Alvin Kamara. They might have Michael Thomas, but who's going to be throwing them the ball? Who's going to be facilitating that? You're going to go with Derek Carr again? I don't know. Tampa Bay, sneaky pick yet again. Of course, they did re-sign Baker Mayfield as well. They still have Mike Evans. They might have lost a couple of guys on the offensive side, on the offensive line as well. So that could be a factor too. Then you have Carolina. Who knows what we're going to get out of Carolina this season? New coaching staff yet again. And for the third, fourth year in a row or something like that. Got Bryce Young a year of seasoning for him and Adam Thielen, how that's really going to all play out too. I'm kind of writing off Carolina at this point too. I think it's going to come down between Atlanta and the Buccaneers as well. You see that success with Baker, right off the bat this season as well. Kind of up and down, hit or miss, but really kind of came through in the end. Upset the Eagles as well in the playoffs. That's a big. That was a big moment for Tampa Bay as well. I definitely see them competing. I just don't know if they're going to be able to get over the hump of that is with Tampa Bay or not. With an aging defense and a couple of moves that Tampa Bay's made, they've lost some of their key players. Jamel Dean, I think, was one guy that got traded as well. Shaq Barrett got signed elsewhere too. So there's a few holes clicking through that defense right now. I mean, they could certainly be in the mix by the end of the year, but I just don't think that they're going to make it this year, playoff wise.
That's a bold prediction, I'd say, because everything that I've been watching, and this isn't, I mean, this is all coming from the social medias, but they're like, oh, they're gonna win the division. They're gonna hold a playoff.
Very well could be.
They get to do that.
Very well.
I mean, they could be, but here. I agree with you. You got to beat the Bucs. I mean, the Bucs aren't. Got to beat the Bucs. They're good. You still got Antoine Winfield Jr. when they weren't sure exactly how that was going to pan out and whatnot. But now that they've added Kirk Cousins, you look at the roster and honestly, there's a lot of upside because their defense is actually pretty good. Jesse Bates is a good player. Grady Jarrett is a very good defensive lineman.
Again, they have a young team that they do, especially on that offensive side. You get Raheem Morris, who is a defensive coach as well, so he can help coach up that, defense that's got a couple playmakers on that side too. I've never disliked Raheem Morris. I think when he got a head coaching job in Tampa Bay 10-ish years ago, feels like it was 20 years ago, but a long time ago, I thought it was way too early for him. I felt that he needed to be a coordinator for another 5 to 7 years as well at minimum. And now he's kind of bounced back. I mean, he was in Washington. He went to LA. I mean, he's been a defensive coordinator for a number of teams that have really stepped up. Wasn't he D coordinator for the Rams when they won the Super Bowl, I think, or something like that? So, I mean, he does have that coaching pedigree working with guys, obviously, like Aaron Donald, too, Von Miller at that point in his career, too. So I think this could be a much-needed lift for the Falcons, too. And, of course, with, Raheem Morris being a former Tampa Bay coach as well, that might play into it a little bit as well.
So that's kind of what the Falcons look like. It'll be interesting to see what they do in the draft. They might trade back and get, add some more picks, which would be the smart thing to do. I'm glad I just talked about that because NFL Network just came up with the top 10. They're at 8. They could very well move back, maybe give Minnesota the pick. Who knows?
I'll take it.
They might have to go a little farther. The Vikings might have to trade up a little farther than that. But we'll see. So with all that being said, Voldy, I don't think I've ever had this much fun talking about a Vikings player about Kirko Chainz. And
Kyle Rudolph,
very, very true too.
Popped up in the Facebook memories recently.
He's probably on the top 10, or no, I'd get the Mount Rushmore of, Vikings to talk about entertaining when, Kirk says, I don't have much swag, but technically he kind of does though, right? He does and now. It's not because I met him, because even before then I was a pro Kirk ever since the Vikings signed.
Always.
Okay.
Always.
I was always pro Kirk, and getting the chance to meet him, and I don't know if this will ever get out to Kirk or not, but
I hope it does.
I hope it does, but I will say thank you, Kirk, for everything that you did for these Minnesota Vikings and all of the hard work you put together, not only on the field, but off the field. Even with your injury, he goes out there and he gives out, he's going out to the community. He's, signing autographs, things like that. The guy is so likable. He's very likable. His teammates love him, and I know it hurt a lot of the teammates that he was, moving on, but they're moving forward too. So, with that being said, I extend my thanks to one Kirko Chainz, and I have to do this one more time because he deserves it. One last time with the chains.
Yes, sir.
One last time with the glasses. And you know what I'm talking about, baby. Kirko Chainz. Kirko Chainz. So I will always have love for Kirko Chainz. Unfortunately, we will be having to play the Atlanta Falcons, I believe, this season. Not sure when. I'm not sure when, but
look at that schedule.
That'll be a fun game to watch. But I wish Kirk the best in Atlanta, just not against us when we play him. But Kirk, thank you for everything, and remember, Kirko Chainz, baby. Kirko Chainz! I love it. So, that will probably be the last time you see me with the Kirko Chainz. But you never know. It might come back. It might come back. So,
never know.
I just wanted to do that and go from there. So, without further ado, that's going to do it with our Kirko Chainz talk. Farewell to our friend Kirko Chainz. We will still see you on Sundays, so that'll be good. Mm-hmm. You know? You might be on our fantasy team. Who knows? So,
who knows?
Let's move on to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Obviously, I think it was the day after we had the show last week, karlanthonytowns, torn meniscus. Like, what the hell? What you know, because he was
random.
Out. He was out or something for one of the games, and it was random. No one knows what happened. No one knows, like, how it happened and things like that.
Right.
We're all sitting there scratching our heads. So he's out indefinitely. Voldy, he's a key part of their success this season. Now the Wolves won last night against the Clippers, and that's a big one. The Clippers are up there in the top 4 in the West, and they went out and got it done. Ant was Anthony Edwards again. So
coming back from 22 down. Also, come on.
Boom. Ant, baby, go Bears,
yes,
let's go. So here's the question. Can Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves carry the load while Cat is out? I'm not saying like, oh, they're going to be the 1 seed, because they probably, I'm thinking 1 through 3, one of the seeds I think the Wolves will get. But do you think Ant and the Wolves with Gobert and everything carry the load while Cat is out for the time being? What do you got?
I think they certainly can. I think one thing that we haven't really fully seen is the full offensive prowess that comes along with Rudy Gobert as well. Yes, we know about his ability on the defensive side, being a defensive player of the year multi-time as well. But getting him a little bit more involved with the offense, there's a reason why the Timberwolves kept 3 bigs too. You know, you plug in Naz Reid coming off the bench or even in the lineup as well in the starting 5. That's a good rotation you can at least have. But digging in a little bit more to the depth as well, I think that's going to be just about right, because now we're at that point of the season too, where there's still 20-ish games left in the regular season, I believe, and you start plugging away at all of those too, and you start building guys and getting them ready for the playoffs, obviously, but getting that full conditioning in, at least being able to stretch out a few more minutes for some of these guys with Cat being out. I feel like it could be a big advantage for the Timberwolves too. And, you know, obviously he's going to be out for some time, but being able to work a little bit smaller in the lineup as opposed to, you know, the way that they've gone with playing big could be a big help for the Timberwolves, especially going up against some of these teams that like to run the ball down your throat with the Western Conference too.
So Naz Reid, you mentioned Naz Reid. Dude has been on fire these past few years. Ever since Cat's been out, he has been on fire. That's why I think they're going to be able to, keep things afloat while Cat is out. Now, the thing is I don't want to say this is a huge loss. This is terrible for the team. It sounds like he's going to be able to come back, but it's going to be closer to playoff time. I mean, we're getting really close now. It's about I'd probably say a little over a month, maybe right at a month before the playoffs start. Yeah. So with Edwards playing the way that he's playing, with Naz Reid filling in, Jaden McDaniels, Slow-Mo, obviously, and with Morris in the fold now too, this is going to be a interesting stretch for these Minnesota Timberwolves. And they proved it the other night against the Clippers that they can still be that team to get by. And, you got Mike Conley, leading the way too. So this is a good news. Or I'm not, obviously the news with Cat is we need Cat. And the thing is it was really working with Cat. But it's good to know that guys are stepping up since Cat is going to be out for a while. So, depending on how he progresses with the rehab, he had surgery. It was successful from what I understand. The recovery process, not sure how that's going to pan out. But I'm kind of under the impression, especially that they didn't rule him out completely of he's done for the season. That's a good sign because that means, hey, he's probably going to return at some point, but look towards playoff time. So, with that being said, I agree. If this was ARA, stamp of approval, they will be able to handle the load while he is out. But the one thing I am concerned about is Ant's health and Gobert's health. Ant's kind of been dealing with a nagging ankle. Gobert, I think he pulled his hamstring a little bit or so. So we got to be wary of that too. And, it's going to be interesting to see how these guys are going to be able to, be healthy towards the end of the season. Maybe they do the load management thing, but it doesn't seem like those guys want to do that.
Nope.
And I respect that. I do respect that. So the only big injury right now I see is obviously Cat, and we're gonna monitor it and see how it goes. So I'm not too concerned. I think they'll be fine. The thing is, it'd have to be a major collapse. So Zappa talked about it last week too, and I think he's been talking up this team and saying this is what Ant's doing. This is Ant, this Ant's team. So we will see how karlanthonytowns, if he comes back, great. If not, well, that it shall be interesting in the playoffs. So
yeah, very interesting.
That being said, that's going to do it for Tater Tot Hot Take. A lot of hot takes, obviously Kirko, Cat, but the NFL, there's been a lot of deals, a lot of deals.
Good God.
And so I decided, Voldy, and you very well know this, is I ranked all the signings so far, okay, because we could have like a breaking news story right now and be like, the Vikings signed this guy, So these rankings could change right in the middle. So Infinity rankings tonight are the Vikings signings so far. I'm going to explain them a little bit. I'm going to kind of give my thoughts, and it's mainly positive. There are some things I am concerned about, but Sam Darnold, but there's a lot of positive with it. So, Voldy, I know you missed it. The Infinity Gauntlet is ready. Let's get it going with some Infinity rankings.
While many have power rankings, none have captured them all. It's time for Matty C's Infinity Rankings.
There we go. So, you know the deal. We got 6 stones. We've got a lot of signings that the Vikings had. And we're going to snap our fingers, see if things go well. Did anybody catch on to that? Snap, right? Right? No?
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah. I tried.
What? Swing and a miss.
So, yeah, fair enough. So, the free agency signing for the Vikings. Here it is, the Infinity Top 6. Boom! There you go. we are starting at number 6.
Uh-huh.
Now, I think a lot of people would agree with this at number 6, Sam Darnold. The Vikings gave $10 million to Sam Darnold, some guaranteed. I think it was about like $6 mil guaranteed, which isn't, I don't know, a lot of people are like, oh, that's a lot. Like, so what?
Drop in the bucket.
It's a drop in the bucket. Who cares? You don't have a quarterback right now besides Mullins and Hall. Like, you know. So I put this at 6. I felt like there were probably some better options for the Minnesota Vikings as opposed with Sam Darnold. Now, look, Sam Darnold has not been on good teams. You have the Jets. I mean, that's a train wreck in itself. Then you have the Carolina Panthers, and they've been declining ever since Scam Newton. Even after a second stint, they've been going downhill. And then, did he go anywhere besides the Niners? Yeah, so he goes to the Niners.
Yep.
And, you know, he's kind of there as a backup to P.O.D and everything like that. And, you know, maybe he learned some things. Who knows? But
Almost won a Super Bowl.
Almost won a Super Bowl, right? It's true. So, here's why I have it at 6. I feel like the Vikings could have maybe Minshew, maybe, you know, a guy, you know, looking, just somebody just to kind of right the ship a little bit. But it seems like Minshew got a 2-year deal from the Raiders, I believe.
Yep.
So that's interesting in itself. Probably wanted a longer deal, but we wouldn't commit that much. But I feel like there were some options that they could have went. I'm glad they didn't go Tannehill. I'd rather not have Tannehill, no offense.
Yep.
But this is what we got. Now, the reason why I'm not so hung up about this is because we have weapons. We have a guy that's literally on this list right now, and Aaron Jones being back there. We'll talk about that in a second. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, even though he won't have Hawkinson right away because he's still recovering from the torn ACL.
Got Johnny Munt, though.
Cheap shot. Speaking of Johnny Munt, he was on this list until I found out what happened with our good friend Dirty Harry. But
yes, sir.
I still like that signing. Third best tight end on the roster, and he's probably one of the. I mean, I love Johnny Munt. He's so good.
Who doesn't love Johnny Munt?
So, Darnold's got some weapons here. So I like it from that perspective of, hey, look, like, okay, you know, got J.J. Addison. You know, after that, I mean, I guess somewhat Brandon Powell. You know, because I think KJ's a free agent, so we'll see. Yeah. So it might suck. Like, he might be terrible, but we'll see how it pans out depending on who we get in the draft. So let's move on to number 5. A hometown hero, Blake Cashman.
Crazy.
Eden Prairie native, comes home to Minnesota, 3-year deal, I believe, $25
Go for legend.
Coming back to the great state of Minnesota. I like this at number 5 because he's going to be right next to our guy, Ivan Pace Jr. Jordan Hicks officially gone, went to the Browns. So now you pair Pace with Cashman. Cashman has had a very successful career. First, he was with the Jets, I believe, and then he goes over to the Texans. And then, you know, obviously his numbers have gone up since then too. So you add him in the middle with Pace. I'm liking that duo right there. And the thing is, I mean, you're adding even more defensive toys to play with. So I think he fits perfectly into Flores' scheme, and I think he'll be a viable piece. And obviously, being from Minnesota, coming back home, let's get it going. Blake Cashman, cash money, baby. So number 4, Voldy, this was more breaking news right before the show. The Vikings re-signed our guy, Dirty Harry, the Hitman, Harrison Smith. I am very happy that the Vikings found a way to be like, We're going to restructure your deal, give us some cap space. We want you back.
Yep.
This would probably be higher and everything like that, but I'm just, because Harrison's been so great, you need that presence, that veteran, to lead that defense. And Flores, I think Flores was like, dude, I need you again. And Harry's going to give it one more shot. Harry's still got enough in the tank. I believe so. I believe the Hitman still got enough left in the tank. He was, he had that game against Carolina. Forced fumble, like 3 sacks. He still got it, man. He's still got it. So, re-signing Dirty Harry's my 4th Infinity Stone tonight. But, number 3, Andrew Van Ginkel. Yes, 2 years, $21 million for Van Ginkel. He knows the Flores defense, obviously, when he first started and whatnot. And he is, unfortunately, a Badger, I believe. But we'll forgive him.
We can look past.
We'll forgive him.
We'll
forgive him. And so you add him off the edge. He had a really great season for the Miami Dolphins. The dude had like a pick 6. He had multiple pressures, sacks. This is a very good signing. And the thing is he doesn't have to play, necessarily. He doesn't have to be the guy, He's kind of that second guy. And obviously the first guy that I have up there, we're going to talk about in a second. But Andrew Van Ginkel, I think, is going to make an impact. He kind of reminds me of the younger version of B-Rob. A little bit with the hair and everything like that.
Hair. Yep.
On the job with B-Rob. So Van Ginkel, I love the name, first of all. Awesome name. Watched Hard Knocks with him. Seems like a down-to-earth guy and very good football player. So Van Ginkel, I think, is going to be crucial for our defense here. All right, number 2. This one, I was kind of going back and forth. Not only do the Green Bay Packers say, Aaron Jones, we need you to take a pay cut. Oh, okay. Well, how much we talking? 50%, maybe more.
Woof.
What? So you're going to get rid of a guy who literally, that's not what I wanted, who literally pretty much single-handedly destroyed the Dallas Cowboys in that playoff game that you had.
Yep.
And almost beat the 49ers. And you thought, nah, we're going Josh Jacobs. We're going to, well, if you want to take a pay cut. But the Green Bay Packers are like, nah, we'll just get rid of you then, since you won't take a pay cut. Like,
with Josh Jacobs, though. Ugh.
What?
Scary pickup.
Like, it just didn't, it just did not make sense to me at all why they did that with him. So I don't know what's going on here, but the fact of the matter is that they released him. And the Vikings,
just let him go.
Well, we didn't get Tony Pollard. We're in the mix there. We didn't really, we weren't sure what's going on there. We were kind of in the mix for Saquon. But that obviously was Eagles. But the Packers get rid of one Aaron Jones. He's just sitting there. 1 year, $7 million. The dude is coming to Minnesota. It's not just Aaron Jones. We have Ty Chandler, too. There is a 2-back system here that can work really well. Jones can catch, he can run, and guess what? He can actually block for one. So we don't have to worry about Alexander Madison obviously missing blocks, and Ty Chandler obviously has got to work on that too. But Aaron Jones I put at number 2. This was huge. They needed a running back desperately. When the news came out he was being released, Kwesi went and got him right then and there. That was an awesome move by Kwesi, Adolfo Menza, and the Minnesota Vikings. Snatching away Aaron Jones. So, Hanley says, you had Cook, ... We did have Cook, but guess what? Dalvin,
dodged the bullet there.
Dalvin didn't want to take a pay cut. And, we wanted Dalvin, but he didn't fit the scheme. He didn't fit the scheme. He even said so himself after he was gone from the Vikings. He said so himself. So, we did have Dalvin, but he wasn't right fit for the scheme. Now we have Aaron Jones, good pass catcher, and a very good runner. So, I'm liking that.
Hopefully we can bring Dalvin back in and, bring him back in one day.
Who knows?
Let both sides
Just
come
saying.
to agreement. So,
Who knows? Number 1, Jonathangreenard. Now, a lot of people are like, well, he's had injury issues, and he only had that one season this past season, 12 and a half sacks. He had 12 and a half sacks last year. 12 and a half sacks. Mm-hmm. So that's got to mean something. That doesn't mean nothing. This isn't Marcus Davenport we're talking about here. This is a guy who is younger than Daniil, and obviously we do miss Daniil because another one of my favorites with Daniil Hunter.
He is going to tear up Houston's defense. It's going to be great. I can't wait
to watch that Will Anderson too.
Oh, God, they are going to be good.
They're going to be good. They're going to be very good. But
they're only getting younger on both sides. So.
True. So the Vikings go and get Greenard. I think Greenard is a sneaky little pickup there. The thing is, very big deal. 4 years, I believe $76 million, which isn't awful by any means. But I put this at number 1 because I think people are going to realize and see how good this guy is. I've been watching a lot of tape. I've been doing Ron Jaworski a lot. And checking out his tape. And the guy is fast. He's quick. He can get to the quarterback. He's got a motor that can, get right to the quarterback, make sacks, cause turnovers. He can even drop into coverage. And he actually has a pick 6, I believe. So, Greenard, I think, is going to be an impact player within this Brian Flores defense. So, that's what I got. Voldy, I got Sam Darnold 6, Cashman 5, Dirty Harry 4, Van Ginkel 3, Aaron Jones 2, Jonathangreenard 1. So, Zoners, Voldy, your thoughts on the Infinity rankings? What do you got?
I mean, you look at the big signings that the Vikings have had with the offseason. You look at 4 of the 6 defensive players. 3 of those 4 linebackers as well. Van Ginkel, kind of one of those edge guys that he could be a free safety. He could be a linebacker as well. He's a special teams guy. He is the white version of Josh Metellus. I'm just going to put it out there as well. You put him on all defensive positions, he's going to make a play one way or another. Kickball Dad's favorite player as well from the Dolphins the last couple of years too. So I like a lot of the signings as well. The one that obviously we need to fill out the quarterback room and getting a veteran like, Sam Darnold. I mean, not veteran per se the way of, Kirk Cousins, but experience enough of what it's like to be a quarterback in the NFL. Now, to be a successful NFL quarterback has not been the strong suit of Sam Darnold, but it's an option. It's an option that we have right now because you're going to give the ball to Jaron Hall. You're going to give the ball to Nick Mullins. You're going to give the ball to whoever you draft with the 11th pick. No. That's not what's going to happen right now. You've got options right now with the quarterbacks, and, you're probably going to have to bring a guy in at training camp, see what it's all going to be about and everything, really compete too. And then you really bolster that defense too. You get Cashman, a linebacker. You get Van Ginkel, who knows Flores. You get Greenard, who's obviously a linebacker, and the defense is very linebacker-led with the B-Flow defense too, so that's going to be a big help. Then you have the experience with, obviously, Harrison-Smith. You weren't going to let him go out the way that last season ended as well. And then you throw in Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, a very nice piece to really pick up. You could have really done a coin flip with Green Bay there. If you get Josh Jacobs, you lose Aaron Jones. You keep, Aaron Jones as well. He's familiar with the system. He's been that spark plug on the offense as well. Really good running back. He can block. He can catch as well, but that's a sneaky good pickup by Green Bay to get Josh Jacobs. Obviously, you give Jacobs an offensive line, he can torch you. He's been doing that for years when given the opportunity to do so. I mean, Vegas is where football careers go to die, and I'm surprised he even made it that long in Vegas with the Raiders based off of how awful they were and how inconsistent the offense was, even under that many head coaches. So maybe he'll find the fountain of youth, except when they play the Vikings with Josh Jacobs. But I think Aaron Jones would be a really nice upgrade as well in the running back position. At least provide a little bit more consistency, and just wondering who's going to be the lead guy this week and how many yards under 100 are we going to be week in and week out, because he can definitely torch you. He's a really good, like I said, pass catching threat as well. Out of the backfield, he can stretch plays out as well. Obviously, he can run too, so that's going to be a really nice help, especially with the quarterback situation that we do have. Need to have a good running game involved.
Really do, and it showed this past year. I mean, shoot, Madison couldn't get it done. Cam Akers did well until he tore his Achilles, and then
Another injury.
Ty Chandler was very effective too. So there's a lot of options, if you will, and that's why I factor this into Sam Darnold. At first, I'm just like, Sam Darnold, yuck.
It's an option,
but
we need bodies.
But the thing is, he's got weapons. That's what helps. He's got weapons he can go to. So that's why I'm very positive about this, is because, he's got weapons here. Unless the Vikings draft somebody, then they tear it up in training camp. So that's a positive too. It might not be Darnold right away if someone plays really well. It's happened before, just saying. But with that being said, anything you would change, Voldy? Would you change anything on here? Yay, nay?
No, I think it's just about perfect, honestly. I think
Perfect.
One thing that the Vikings did need was help linebacking-wise as well, to at least get a lot more depth. I mean, you can put Van Ginkel in there on the scheme. He can be the fourth guy. He can help complementary on the, a rushing free safety, him and Smith as well. You can put him in coverage as well. Greenard, a guy that can go after the ball as well, too. I think that's just about where you want to put everything right now at face value.
Right. So, with that being said, Kirk Cousins joining NFL Total Access right now.
Change the channel.
Change
the channel.
We're done. We're
you
done.
know what? Throw the TV out the window. Bye-bye. Cancel the cable.
It's over. No,
cut the power. Cut it.
I do want to address this real quick before we get into air it. The socials medias, and I am going to blame a certain place or certain betting organization called FanDuel, a.k.a. ScamDuel. They've been posting a lot of, is Justin Jefferson going to be traded now that the Vikings only have Sam Darnold? Are they going to do that? A lot of the socials media has been talking. They've been saying, the Vikings turned down T. Higgins and 2 first-round draft picks. You better be giving us at least 4 first-rounders, future ones too.
Farm.
You got to bring the whole freaking farm, baby. I don't give a crap if you're putting in T. Higgins in there. JJ is worth a lot, and you are going to have to do a lot. You're going to have to sell your whole franchise, for goodness sake, to get JJ. Yep. So stop with the nonsense of trying to get JJ. He's staying here. He's getting his contract he's due for. We're going to get a QB of the future. He's staying right here, Minnesota. Jamar Chase.
2 things out of that.
No Joe Burrow.
One thing for FanDuel. Know your role. Shut your mouth. Shut up and take my money. And the second thing, and if it should happen that JJ, for some ungodly reason, they think that maybe we should get rid of him. I'm not going to say I condone violence, but all I got to say is insurrection. That's what I'm going to say. TCO, insurrection. I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't want to get canceled. The right wing will love what I just said. MAGA, make America great again. The red-hatted people. I mean, they'd love that. But to be fair to everybody, non-political show or whatever, just going to leave it at that. Let your imaginations run wild.
I'd be very upset. That's
and
for sure.
We're canceled.
Yeah. I'd be very upset. But that being said, stop it. As Mike Ditka would say, stop it. Stop it.
Oh, God. That was a long time ago.
He's staying here, Minnesota. Anywho, that's going to do it with Infinity Rankings. Give it a gander if you'd like to, shift some things around. And again, guys, free agency isn't over yet. The Vikings still need to get an interior defensive lineman. Shoot, they could use a corner or two, veteran corner or two. So there's a lot that they're gonna, be looking at here. They still got some money to deal with. And one other tidbit. Voldy in 2025, and this is just an estimation. The Vikings are going to have 158 million in cap room in 2025. Kwesi's cooking. I mean, he's no dummy, man. The Vikings might have one hell of an offseason.
So what you're saying is Minnesota Vikings 2026 Super Bowl champions.
Maybe not.
Interesting.
I don't know. Just saying.
Maybe.
A lot of cap space. A lot of cap space, baby. That's why they'll have enough money to pay JJ. Just saying.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, it's time for some ARA. A lot to get to with ARA. College football, trying to get, NHL team in Atlanta. Trying to get Rodgers being a political figure now. What the hell is going on? Crazy stuff happening. So let's get it going with some absurd or approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
Me and Voldy were just going back and forth on the Kirk Cousins thing. He's on NFL Total Access right now in the red. It doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel right.
Nope.
But that's
Never
why
will.
we're moving on. So it's time for Absurd or Proof. So Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Oh, with the start of NFL free agency this week, the start of the new year, new league year, and of course a new regime in New England, the Patriots are shaking things up in the quarterback room, a team that was led, then benched, then led again by Mac Jones week in and week out. Well, they said bye-bye to Mac Jones as they traded him to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Very interesting move by them as well. But also with that, needing more help in the quarterback room, they did bring in as well a former Tom Brady clipboard holder, I should say. Jacobybrissett is back with the team that originally drafted him and also picked up a few key wins on that way to a Super Bowl as well. New England Patriots did bring in Jacobybrissett to be a guy as a starting quarterback and as well adding more depth. Of course, they do have the likes of Bailey Zappi. I just saw as well that they re-signed Nathan O'Rourke as well. I believe that's his first name. I have no idea who the hell he was to begin with. But they've got quarterbacks. They have a lot of question marks. Gerard Mayo as head coach as well. There's a lot of things still to be ironed out as well. But with Jacobybrissett being brought back on a 1-year, $8 million deal, is it absurd or approved? Will Jacobybrissett start more than 12 games this season with New England?
Ooh, that's a great question.
We'll set the over-under. We'll do 12.5 for all those betting people out there.
Let's do
Moser,
that, yeah.
hopefully he's tuning in. He's taking the under.
Yeah, Moser's probably going to take the under on that. That's a great question. So here's another guy that I thought would be a good, bridge quarterback for Minnesota. I thought that would be a possibility with Jacobybrissett.
Right.
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
I hear Cam Newton's still out there.
Well, there's that. The thing with Jacobybrissett is that, Patriots back with the team. He was on some, the Colts. He did okay with the Colts. He did subpar with the Commanders and everything like that. But
he's been on 6 teams in 8 years.
6 teams. Jeez.
In 8 years.
Insane. That's insane.
Yeah.
He was on the Browns, if I'm not mistaken, too.
He was on the Browns. He was in Miami. He was in Washington. Obviously the Colts as well. He's been with a bunch of teams. A lot of teams.
But I don't like. Are we assuming that the New England Patriots will probably be taking a quarterback in the top three? Are they going to trade back? I mean, there's a lot of questions to be answered here. So let's say they draft somebody like let's just go with Jaden Daniels or something.
Jaden Daniels. That was the guy I was going to say.
Let's go with Jaden Daniels here.
Yep.
I'm gonna take the under on that if that's the case. But if they don't decide to pick a quarterback, even though they might trade back, I don't know what the hell they're gonna do. I don't know what their process will be. But let's just say they get Daniels. I'm gonna take the under on it with the starts. I kind of like what he's got. You know, he's not like a complete scrub. That's gonna go out there and throw errant picks and things like that. The dude's actually somewhat competent in some, aspect, but he's got to have the right pieces around him. The Patriots right now, maybe not as many guys as, not a lot of guys. Calvin Ridley would have helped a lot, but he's going to be going with the Titans, which interesting enough.
Well, the Titans have made some sneaky moves too.
They have.
They lost Derrick Henry though, but they got some sneaky pickups.
Yeah, now that Vrabel's out, you have Brian Callahan. Don't know if that's a relation or not. No idea.
One Callahan, you've seen them all.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But here's what I'll say. I'm going to take the under on it because I think whoever they're going to take, they're going to come in, maybe even beat them out too. So, I'm going to take the under. So, stamp of approval though. I like the signing. I do. So, Voldy, what do you think?
I mean, it really all boils down to who are they going to go with at the number 3 pick. I feel like they will go quarterback because I feel like that they do need a guy that they can develop, especially with a new front office, new head coach as well. They need to make their stamp for the future as well. Obviously, Jacobybrissett coming back, that's going to be a nice, a good bridge quarterback. He's familiar with the team. A lot of changes since he was originally there as well. Not the same coaching staff by any stretch of the imagination whatsoever, but at least some familiar surroundings as well, getting comfortable. Maybe a couple of guys that's still there. I highly doubt if there's anybody back there offensively. I mean, they did re-sign Kendrick Bourne. They've got a couple guys coming back as well. Hunter Henry they re-signed as well, so that's going to be another nice piece in the offensive game plan as well. Running backs, that's going to be led heavily with Ramondre and obviously the rotating door that they have at running backs every 3 seasons that they do. 12 and a half starts. I'm going to take the over on that. I just feel like that at some point that they're just going to have to, put their foot down and just say, look, we're going to go Jacoby till the wheels fall off. And if they're competing, things are going right. It's not like in college where you can burn a red shirt on a rookie quarterback as well. It's nice if you can get him starts, but you don't want to get him thrown to the wolves right from the very get-go. You want to get him comfortable, get used to the speed of the game as well, compared to obviously college and everything before that too. I'm going to say Brissett, he's 31. He's been around a lot, but being in a area that he's at least comfortable and familiar with, it's going to be a big help for him. Getting comfortable with new coaching staff as well, and obviously some new weapons. There's going to be some growing pains. I'm going to take the over on that for him.
Okay. Got to be different somehow with it. I like it. All right. Next one. Just
watch Mac Jones take Trevor Lawrence's job down in Jacksonville. Just to do something stupid.
Interesting.
Hot take.
Hot take. We'll keep an eye on that. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, the college football playoff coming up in the 2026 football season will have a 14-team playoff as well. But there are some sources that are indicating a proposed idea of the SEC and the Big Ten conference champions receiving guaranteed buys to start off with that. Is rubbing a few people the wrong way as well, and it's looking like the details of the 14-team playoff haven't been determined yet, obviously, with a number of factors, obviously with TV contracts and deals, with all of that still to be taking place. But a lot of people are voicing their dismay for the fact that the Big Ten and SEC would receive automatic buys as well, just for being their conference champions. And quote, one coach was saying from TCU, automatic first round buys for the Big Ten and SEC is like the NFL saying that the Cowboys get a first round buy since they have more fans than the Bengals, which is true. But at the same time, you got to look at what's going to be keeping things rolling, if you know what I mean. You look at the overall, of course, with the 12-team playoff that's going to be set to take place here this season, the 5 highest ranked conference champions will receive a guaranteed spot, and the next 7 ranked teams will receive that spot as well. The 4 highest ranked conference champions will receive a first round bye, and the 12-team playoff will continue for the following season as well. So 2024 and 2025, it'll be 12. Then we'll go to 14 starting in 2026. But you look at how the 14-team playoff could end up being, with 2 conference champions receiving automatic buys just because they're conference champions of the Big Ten and SEC. Is it absurd or approved? Should the Big Ten and SEC receive automatic buys for that 14-team playoff starting in 2026?
They don't even know what they're doing. You know, it's to the point where it's like, okay, now you're going to a place of, well, you know, maybe we should have auto buys and things like that. Maybe we try that, or maybe it's like, stop trying to change it. Just stop. I mean, it's just they don't look at the bigger picture and think, you know, maybe if we expanded it to 8 teams, which I think is the smart thing to do, but they're not going to do it because they're the NCAA. So
nothing makes sense.
It doesn't make sense to me. But, you know, if you're going to have these auto buys, no one's going to, no, I mean, even if people hoot and holler about it, you're not going to change anything. You're not going to care which way you go with it, and, you know, whatever. I think they should be axed. I think I don't like the effect of buys for this. I mean, this isn't the NFL here, okay?
Right.
And the thing is there's enough time in between to have these games, and this is what you wanted, and stick with it. So don't keep, well, we might consider putting in buys. Just stop. We're done with that. All right? You have what you wanted. Figure it out. Don't use the stupid buy system. It's dumb. Everything about it is dumb. Don't get me wrong, but it's dumb. So I think it's absurd. I don't think you should even, I mean, give some of these, you know, these conferences. It's like, well, what about these other teams that have been playing, you know, well and stuff like that? Like, you know, outside of the SEC, outside of the Big 21 now, not even the Big 10. There's no Big 10. It makes no sense anyway. So I think it's silly. I think it's absurd too. So, Voldy, what do you think?
I mean, I could see the automatic buys working because it really comes down to math. Because you take those 2 teams out, you've got 12 teams. 12 teams, that's 6 games, or you get, you know, obviously 12 teams, that's 6 games. You went on to that. That's going to be 6 teams left after that first round. You know, well, you get down from 6 to 3. That doesn't work out for, you know, a straight bracket. You throw in those 2 extra teams and you've got 8 teams. 8 teams down to 4, 4 teams down to 2, 2 teams down to eventual national champion. So that's where I see it from that perspective of the college football 14-team playoff. But the buys, I find that interesting. Why the Big Ten, the SEC? I would have thought for sure that the college football would have put SEC and, like, I don't know, the Big 12 or the ACC over the Big 10. They're just trying to get Ohio State in, is kind of the thing right off there, because they just assume that Ohio State's going to win the conference championship every year.
Yeah.
Watch, if they stick with this, it'll be like Vanderbilt and Rutgers in the first round buys of the SEC and the Big Ten conference champions. Just something completely dumb, because I'm all about the complete stupid realizations that could happen as well. Something completely dumb. They just get on a roll one year like, yeah, we get the first round bye because we're conference champions, because we're the SEC champions, the Vanderbilt Commodores of the SEC as your conference champions. No, we're not talking baseball. We're talking football. I think it's interesting why those 2 conferences, obviously the SEC, that's the big one. They're hoping, like, Alabama, Georgia, LSU, obviously the big schools that have made the most prowess over the last 10 years that made, obviously college football worth watching too. The
Right.
Big Ten, they're hoping for Michigan, Ohio State. That's about it. Maybe Wisconsin, Penn State, maybe one year. I don't know. Depends on who they like, who's ever getting the most love from the Illuminati.
Who knows?
Who knows? But it's just the fact that they come up. Obviously, the 12 is interesting. The 12 team playoff, and then you got the 14. Why can't we just do 8 or 16? Make it easy. Nothing too overly complicated there. It's just straight bracket. You go from 8 to 4 to 2 to 1. Boom, we're done. You go from 16 to 8 to 4 to 2 to 1. That's easy. That's completely simple. I think it's absurd. I think really should come down. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they just threw those two teams out there, and maybe it should be like a revolving door for the automatic buys. There's a lot of questions still to be worked out, and hopefully they get it ironed out here before 2026. So it's still absurd, though.
Anything NCAA, absurd. That's all we're on this show.
Exactly.
All right. Next one, Voldy.
Well, of course, there is still being a big push for expansion in the NHL. No, Gary Bettman's not saying that he's going to be retiring in 5 years. God, I wish it was right now. But the Atlanta Sports Group that is looking for a formal requisition of an NHL expansion franchise, the Alpharetta Sports and Entertainment Group, which is fronted by current TNT personality and former NHL player Anson Carter, former Boston Bruin as well, formally requested the NHL to be bring a franchise to Atlanta for the third time around. They were the Atlanta Flames for about 8 seasons as well before being relocated to Calgary, and the Atlanta Thrashers for 12 seasons as well before being moved to Winnipeg. Felt like a lot longer the Atlanta Thrashers were around, but that's a different story altogether. But the announcement, which was posted as well earlier this week, is looking to bring in, obviously, of course, the Atlanta sports franchise again in NHL, which is seen a lot more pick up as of late with the success of, obviously, the Braves. The Hawks have been competing as of late. The Falcons have been looking up and up as of late as well. But one thing is still missing. There is a lot of growth of what is in the sport of hockey in the South as well. We've seen how the expansion has worked in recent years. Obviously, Vegas, Seattle's still on the looking for something in consistency as well. But bringing NHL back to Atlanta is a very interesting note as well. First 2 times didn't work. Are they really going to expect a third time to really be the charm? But is it absurd or approved with the Atlanta Sports and Entertainment Group, or Alpharetta, I should say, which is a suburb of the Atlanta's Metroplex or whatever of all those cities down in that area? Is it absurd or approved? Will we see hockey back in Atlanta within 5 years?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Make it nice and easy here. They've wanted to expand it for a while,
Yep.
And adding it back to Atlanta, especially with having the major sports there. You have obviously the Falcons, obviously you have the Hawks, you have the Braves as well. I mean, this seems like a hockey town, and it's kind of sad to see what happened to the Thrashers. Now, will it be a different team name? I'd assume so. But
I would assume so.
I would assume that would be the case. But it makes sense to have a team there because, I mean, Georgia is big, is a big state for sports. I mean, this is not only the top sports segment. I mean, Georgia Bulldogs, man. I mean, college football, they're down there too. So adding that to Atlanta is going to give them a lot of hype from the other teams as well. So, shoot, you could have our guy Kirko Chainz, add an Atlanta game in the next couple of years or so, if they get it that closely, and if Kirk stays that long.
Right.
So this makes sense, and I feel like they have to get it done in Atlanta. Bring it back. They'll probably change, like we said, they'll probably change the name. Hopefully it's a good name because, there hasn't been any. Well, the Kraken was great. I really do like the Kraken a lot.
It's growing on me. It's growing on you.
So hopefully they pick the right team name and, things like that. So I say to Gary Bettman, let's get this done. Stamp of approval. We will be seeing a team there very soon, hopefully. Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, one of the things that does surprise me as well, that the confidence of the group that is putting a lot into it, and you look at how they are so much confident that they're saying that if the NHL does approve it, the team could be playing in a mixed-use arena in the Atlanta area, in the Alpharetta, I believe, is what they would be located, which is kind of a suburb of Atlanta, if you will, that they could be playing by 2027-28. So we're looking at 3 seasons for now, maybe 4 seasons. So well within that 5-year range as well.
It's possible.
They're still looking at a lot of, because there's a couple of teams down in that area too. You've got the Atlanta Gladiators, which is in the ECHL, which is like hockey's double A, if you will, because you got the AHL, then you got the coast down there as well. So they have been, fairly successful. They have a Thrashers night as well, where they put on old Thrashers uniforms too, which is always fun to see, and how much of a crowd that they get out there. Things have a lot changed since the original inception of the Thrashers too down in Atlanta. So that's really starting to grow. And obviously the game of hockey has grown in the South a lot more. College hockey down south as well. In like the SEC is huge. I mean, you should see some of the games that some of the turnout that they get for some of those games too, which is basically club hockey, honestly. But the ACHA has really grown down there in the South. It could very well be a much positive too. The league expanding out as well. I mean, you hear it talks about Salt Lake City. You hear talks about Houston. As much as people want to see Quebec City come back, bring back the Nordiques from the old days, that's probably not going to happen either, unfortunately. Yeah. But hockey in America is probably the priority, even though expanding the league to 32 teams is not a priority, says the NHL. I could very well see it. Hockey in Atlanta within 5 years, give it my stamp of approval for sure.
Stamp of approval all around. I love it. All right, last one, Volde.
Well, this one kind of a mix of sports and politics, as much as we like to throw our hat in the political ring. Any NFL football player might be throwing his hat in the political ring as well. Well, presidential independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has recently approached NFL quarterback for the New York Jets, that being Aaron Rodgers, is quite possibly being on the short list for a running mate in November's election. Of course, with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. being on the independent ballot as well, as being an independent candidate as well. Nothing's really a guarantee. Of course, you got the Republicans, you got the Democrats as well. Rodgers, no shortage, setting his own opinion out to the masses, and we've seen welcomed advice, unwelcomed advice. Why are we talking about Aaron Rodgers in politics? Who even knows? But even being considered as a potential political running mate as a vice president would be very, very interesting to even consider with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Do you think it's absurd or approved? Would Aaron Rodgers get your vote if he was on the presidential ballot coming up here in November?
He just, it doesn't stop with him, does it? First of all, no, I wouldn't vote for him either way. This is just a publicity stunt, I feel like. And it's one thing to say I'm going to do this, I'm throwing my hat in the ring with this, but I signed a contract with the Jets. How are you going to have time to do any of that? Any of it? True. I mean, there's no earthly way that he's going to be able to do that. The fact that, he's on the short list, just how stupid. It's so dumb. Look, you had a torn Achilles like Kirk Cousins, okay? Now you're sitting by and being like, well, maybe I can be a VP with some. It's just like, it doesn't stop with this guy. He wants the attention, and he wants to make every headline. That's just Aaron Rodgers. It just drives me nuts. It's stupid. And to be honest, if he is, here's my response to that. Much like the relationship between Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. I don't give a shit. That's all I gotta say. I don't care. I do not care if he is. But the fact that he's, his name's in there, he's gonna be, it's just like, just stop. I'm so sick and tired of it. First of all, it's absurd that we're even talking about this. And to be honest with you, I'd rather see Jesse Ventura, who was also even mentioned with it. And apparently he's a big, what's the guy's name? It's not JFK or I don't even know his first name. Whatever the hell the guy's name is.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr.?
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Just go with Jesse. Don't give him more spotlight. This is just, stop it. I don't care. Absurd. Voldy, what do you think?
Oh, baby, if we were going to get canceled before, here we go. We're going to get canceled right here, right now. First things first, voting is a waste of time. Government is a lie. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. Whoever has the most money is going to be the one running the country. The Democrats got lucky this go around, but Trump and gang are loading up, and they're coming lock, stock, and barrel this go time around. You know what? Honestly, I don't vote. I don't care about politics enough to even tell you who's even in the running. All I hear is Trump, Biden, Trump, Biden, Trump, Biden. It literally does not matter. Who knows? I'm just going to assume Trump's going to find a way to win this election legally, illegally. I mean, I don't care. I honestly, literally do not care. This might bring me out of the woodwork to say, you know what? I'm going to vote for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Aaron Rodgers just to screw with the whole system. But I honestly don't care. It's just funny that we went all this time without even hearing about Aaron Rodgers, and he finds a way to get himself back in the news one way or another. I just really hope that he's out on the football field just to be able to watch just how the AFC East is really all going to compete, and how if he can really get something put together this season for the Jets. That's what I'm going to be looking forward to. Do not care about politics. Literally do not care about voting or anything whatsoever. But at the end of the day, government is a lie. None of it exists. It's the Illuminati. And is it absurd or approved? It's completely absurd. I don't care.
That's the fact of the matter is we don't care. He's just a jackass. God,
and we're canceled again.
Yeah.
Woo!
He's
2 for 2, baby.
He's a jackass. I'm sorry. He just is. But one thing I will say, shouldn't he be focusing on trying to get his buddy Devontae to the Jets? I mean,
you would think
this whole free agency thing. I mean, aren't they going to try to get their top guy here to New York? Jeez, focus on that. It's
seriously
just ridiculous. Anyway, great job with the ARA this week, Voldy. Shield shoutouts. We got some awesome Shield shoutouts tonight. So let's get it going with, without further ado, Shield shoutouts.
Shield shoutouts.
All right, Shield, who you shouting out tonight?
Well, I do want to say a big thank you to everybody that did wish Case Paul James and, of course, creative consultant Mrs. Sarah Ann Tews a happy birthday over the past week as well. Sarah's birthday was actually on Monday, and Case's was on Saturday as well, so we had a good time to at least get away, see some family, and celebrate the two of them as well. So a big thank you to everybody that wished them a very happy birthday. Do have to say a happy retirement to former Patriots cornerback and Super Bowl 49 legend Malcolm Butler as he announced his retirement from the NFL this week. Of course, the Malcolm Butler interception at the goal line against the Seattle Seahawks in Super Bowl 49 brought him into everybody's purview and cemented him as a football legend. Of course, with winning a Super Bowl title as well with those New England Patriots. And of course, that is going to do it for Shield shoutouts this week.
There you have it. Great
there
job
it
with
is.
Shield shoutouts this week, Voldy. I saw that the Minnesota Vikings have officially put out thank you to Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
So just because I want to, and just because
Do it.
Like we gotta do it. We gotta
One more
do
time.
it.
For all the kids at home.
Kirko Chainz. Let's go. So, again, thank you to Kirko Chainz. We enjoyed every second that you've been on this team. You've entertained us.
Absolutely.
You have showed us that you are, in fact, and Voldy and I will attest to this, a top 10 quarterback in this league. Just saying. And we love you, Kirko. We really do. So, shouts out to Kirko. And then, obviously, we're going to still use the sound bites, but let's get it going.
You like that? You like that?
And then,
Oh my God!
Kirko, chill.
Yeah.
So
Love it.
congrats to Kirko. We look forward to watching you on Sundays, except against the Vikings. I mean, it'll be good to see you, but we got to beat you. You know what I mean?
Watch Kirk do something completely dumb, like I've been thrown out here all season. He go out there and win MVP this year.
He's got the grills. He's got the grills
Got
now.
the grills.
He's got the
He's
grills
got that
now.
swag. He's
got
in the
the
dirty
swag.
South now. I mean, I've seen dumber things happen.
Quavo from Migos is already hooking him up with chains. So,
Yes, sir.
and he got 2 chains as well. 2 chains. Kirko Chainz and 2 chains.
College
Let's go.
talk.
That's sweet. So, with that being said, Voldy, we got merch. We've got plenty of merch. We've got the hats. We got the sweatpants.
What?
We got the quarter zips.
What?
We
What?
got the stickers. We got the winter
What?
hats. We got the special
What?
edition hats. We got
What?
the tumblers. Yep.
What?
We got it. We got it. So you guys let us know. I've sold a couple. Now we got to keep selling more because there's a lot of cool stuff hanging with it. So with that being said, too, talk to me, talk to Voldy. We'll get you set up. Venmo is the best place for us, but we can make special accommodations. So keep that in mind as well. But with that being said, make sure you check out W2 Performance, www.w2performance.com with our guy, Will Rattel. He's got new content going on as well. And make sure you check out everything he's got going on, YouTube, Instagram, the whole kit and caboodle. Thank you to National Fleet Graphic. Thank you to Crown Rental Tyler Knutson for the stickers. And make sure you check out the Victorious P.O.D, Tyler Hermann, Jack Vickers. With all these deals, they're going to be, there's some fantasy football implications, people. So make sure you check that out, too. And then check out TLS Performance, Troy Stoudemire Jr., our guy. Make sure you check out all his stuff. And then check out Popcorn Bucket Loose. Let's go with Nick Dahlhoff, Ryne, Myhrberg, Omni Entertainment. They've got their Oscar reviews. They made their predictions. Check out their latest episodes. And no, there wasn't a slap between Will Smith or Chris Rock because Will Smith has been banned. So there's that.
Oh, snap.
That's true. So that's going to do it for episode 186. Keep a look on the socials medias. That's all I got to say. That's all I can say at this point.
Yep.
So look at the socials medias. We will be having content, things like that. And again, more free agency stuff probably coming our way. Maybe some trades happening. Keep in tune on our socials medias. So with that being said, Voldy, as always, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.